Welcome to Knock Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live from Kingston, Texas, USA, with another episode of TNT, Totally Not True, with RabbiStuart Federow from the Big H, Houston, Texas. Welcome back. Don't smoke crack. That is always good advice. Rabbi, how are you, sir? It is a pleasure.
I don't know why you give it now.
Why do I, you don't know why what?
Why you give it now?
Oh,
Okay.
it flows the most at that point in time. All right.
Okay,
I got to figure out. So the software, I hate when they do software updates.
Every time I get an update,
golly,
usually it comes right in the middle when I'm doing something,
right?
And it just stops everything. And then there are flaws in it.
Oh, certainly. Yipper, there sure is. So, but right now we're doing good now. We're up and running, and let me just make sure our YouTubers are happy out there. I like to give appropriate shout-outs, not shout-outs. Hey, Mr.
Yes,
Fat Vegan.
Andrea, Michael, Devin, Juventino, Sandoval, Larry Beck.
Welcome, everybody.
Yep.
It is a pleasure.
Pardon me for mispronouncing everything.
I thought you did that pretty good. Pretty good. Yes, indeed. All right. Well, cool. Okay, so here we are. So, the whole idea of original sin, and we're born sinners, that's really...
It's more than that.
It's, yeah.
When we were talking about what we were going to talk about tonight, you mentioned that you haven't heard any of this, but oh my God, William, I keep hearing people, Christians, talk about, I'm a broken person, it's a broken world, this is broken, that's broken, I'm broken, you're broken, wouldn't you like to be broken too? It's just
right.
broken, and
Sure.
It is a reflection of original sin, okay, and the belief about the world. And it is driving me crazy because that is most clearly not Judaism's way of looking at any of this.
Right.
So,
well, I definitely have been hearing the whole original sin idea, which is kind of why they say you're born in sin. So you, even from birth, you had to have a savior, sort of a thing. I'm like, that makes no sense at all. I'm glad this topic got brought up. So let's give it a whack.
All right, we'll go take a look at Romans chapter 5.
Okay, start without me. I'll have a screen queued up here in just a minute.
Oh,
is it
never in that big a rush.
Yeah, all right. Bear with me.
But, okay, Romans chapter 5, verse 12 talks about how Adam and Eve brought death into the world and we die because they sinned, which is pretty much, more or less, the proof and the definition of what original sin is. Wherefore, as by one man's sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. For until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed when there is no law. Nevertheless, death reigned from Adam to Moses, even over them that had not sinned, after the form of Adam's transgression, who was the figure of him that was to come.
What was I'm sorry, Romans what?
Romans chapter 5, verse 12 and following.
Got it.
And there's so much wrong in that paragraph. It just...
Sure.
Until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed when there is no law. So if you have to have a law that says, thou shalt not murder, well, there's no law against murder, so therefore it's okay to murder. Really? Interesting. I thought that was a moral law that people had, with or without a law to cover it, that would tell you, I don't know, thou shalt not steal?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Okay, but the point is that it says, one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea is that Adam and Eve were told in the Garden of Eden, let's just go to it. Okay, so take a look at Genesis 2.
Sorry, still working on it. Hang on. I'll ask you again in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there it is. I couldn't find my thing I was looking for. There it is. Okay, cool. All right, Genesis chapter 2.
Okay, Genesis chapter 2, and you can begin with 16.
Okay. All right. I'll still need a second. I'm just kind of doing one step at a time till I get it all on board.
Or 15. You can start at 15.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, let's go with that now. Let's see if that'll work. Okay, you're up.
Did you ever show everybody Romans, or you just skip
No,
it?
I didn't, because we already
That's
moved
okay.
on. Okay.
That won't matter. So if you take a look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 15 and following, the eternal God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. Well, wait a minute. This initially tells you that Adam and Eve are working in the Garden of Eden even before the fall. Okay, So when God says to Adam after they sinned, you're going to work by the sweat of your brow, it's not saying work is a effect of the fall, because we had to do work. Adam and Eve had to work in the Garden of Eden before the fall.
Sure.
But at any rate, it says, and the eternal God, this is verse 16 now, and the eternal God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it, for in the day that you eat thereof thou shalt surely die. That is a mistranslation. That is not what the text says. If you take a look at the Hebrew, it says mot tamut. Mot is a participle. Tamut is the future tense for death. You will die. So dying, you will die. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Adam and Eve didn't know the difference between good and evil. If they don't know the difference from good and evil, when God says, on the day you eat of it, even taking this translation, you will surely die, how would Adam and Eve, if they don't know the difference between good and evil, know that dying is bad? If they don't know what bad is, when they're told by God, on the day you eat of it, you shall surely die, they're going to shrug their shoulders and say, okay, because they don't know what that means. They don't know that death is permanent. They don't understand death. Have they ever seen at this point anything that died? No. They just got placed in the Garden of Eden a few verses before then. 2:15, and the eternal God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress and to keep it. So they've never seen anything die. They don't know what it is. They don't, and if they even know what it is, they don't know that it's a bad thing or something to avoid. Okay, but what does it mean when it says mot tamut? Dying, you will die. What it means is you're already going to die. You're dying. From the moment we're born, we die. We're going to die. We can exercise 5 hours a day. We can jog, run laps, swim laps. We can take every supplement and vitamin on the planet. We can eat healthy. We're still going to die. So dying, you're going to die. You will die. Already in the process of dying. Dying is a matter of fact. Dying is a matter of life. Dying was a part of life from the moment they were created. I'll go into that in a minute. It says dying, you're going to understand after you eat the fruit that dying is something bad. You're going to understand you will die even though you're already dying. Dying, you're going to know what it means. You will die.
So does that mean
That's
that
what it really
they?
is saying.
Does that mean before?
How do we know this?
So does that mean
Okay.
before they ate?
Take a look at
Rabbi,
chapter 3.
Rabbi,
Okay.
can you hear me?
And take a look beginning with...
He can't hear me. Why? What's going on? Can you guys out there in YouTube land hear me? For some reason, Rabbi cannot
Genesis
hear me.
3:22.
What is going on with this?
Commonly misrepresented by Christianity. Okay. By the way, since we're here, you can take a look at verse 21 too.
Can you hear me? Rabbi?
Okay. Tell me when you got it up, okay?
Okay, Rabbi, hello. Can you hear me? Rabbi? He can't hear me. I'm about to send him a message. Why can't you hear me? Oh, he didn't look. Dang it.
No, I cannot hear you.
Okay, why?
All I'm hearing is, can anybody else hear you?
Yes. Check your headphone settings.
Can anybody? Uh-oh. I cannot hear you, and I don't know why. I have checked my headphones. They're working.
Okay, apparently not.
There we go. Whatever you did.
Apparently, you're the one who did it.
I didn't do anything.
You just touched your wire. So my question is this. Listen, this is very important. So are you saying that, that was funny. Are you saying that before they ate, they didn't have eternal life, that they were already going to die even before they ate?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I've never heard it before.
We've discussed it before. You just don't happen to remember.
You're probably right. Wow. So they were already going to die, period. But the tree of knowledge gave them the knowledge that they were going to die, is what you're saying.
And even if they had the knowledge that they were going to die, what would it have meant to them? Nothing, because they don't know that death is bad.
Yeah,
if you don't know the difference between good and bad,
yeah.
If I give you an apple, how do you even know that it's good? You don't know what good is.
So what's the point of okay, so now I'm confused even more, because so what's the point of putting the tree there and saying don't do this just to tempt them to know something that's already going to happen?
I have seen young children climb up bookshelves with absolutely no fear that the bookshelf could fall on them and kill them, literally take their life.
Right, agreed.
They have no fear of death or dying because they don't understand it. Adam and Eve, at this point in their exceptionally young lives, we see them as portrayed as adults, and they were adults, but effectively they were like children, very naive, very unsophisticated, very ignorant of life and living life. And people who are ignorant think they're going to live forever. Children think they're going to live forever. And so, look, according to the text, one time they ate the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And for the moment they ate of it, things changed. Mm-hmm. What changed is that they become consciously aware of the difference between good and evil. That's the name of the tree. Well, now they know that they are going to die.
And that it's a bad thing.
But now they understand that it's a bad thing.
Wow.
Mot tamut. Dying, you're already dying, you will die. You'll understand what that means. Okay. Now look, go back to, what did I just say? 22. Genesis chapter 3, verse 22.
Okay, and the rib.
Do what?
What? Well, yeah, just go for it. You're good.
Okay. Genesis chapter 3, verse 22. And the eternal God said, behold, the man has become as one of us to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also the tree of life and eat and live forever, therefore the eternal God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. What is this saying?
Sorry, I was on the wrong one. Here we go. I got it back up now.
Sorry.
I was on the wrong chapter. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't find your verse.
3:22.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. So the eternal God says, the man has become as one of us, knowing good and evil. So what does that mean? Who in heaven knows good and evil, the difference between good and evil? Clearly, God, and clearly the angels. God is speaking to the angels and says, there are two characteristics that distinguish God and the angels from human beings. The first characteristic is both God and the angels are immortal. The second characteristic is that both God and the angels know the difference between good and evil. So God is saying to the angels, man has already become like one of us, knowing good and evil, and now if he puts forth his hand and takes also of the tree of life and eats and lives forever, he will become completely like me and the angels. See what I'm saying?
Okay. It makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
This whole thing is logical. It's derived directly from the text. Okay. And remind me about that in a minute. Okay. But God says to the angels, it's right here. lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore, he was kicked out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. So why is Adam and Eve kicked out of the Garden of Eden? So they would not become immortal. If you have to eat the fruit of the tree of life to become immortal, you're already mortal. You're going to die. And the text is rather clear. Man has become like God and the angels, knowing the difference between good and evil. If he puts forth his hand and eats once, just like if you eat once from the tree of the knowledge of the difference between good and evil, eat once, immediately you and all your progeny know the difference between good and evil. Then if you put forth your hand and eat only once from the tree of life, then you're going to become immortal, you and all your descendants. There's no reason to think that they've been eating from the tree of life. Why did Adam, you asked this earlier, why did God put the tree there in the first place? Because what is the most obvious indication of maturity? It's that a person, when they make a decision, a choice, they take responsibility for their own behavior. Adam and Eve, until they knew the difference between good and evil, were not adults. And remember something, okay?
Sorry,
what is the one thing that parents want the most for their kids? To grow up and get out of the house. The purpose and task and function of parenthood is to raise the children in such a way, you're not going to be here forever, but they'll be able to survive without you. That's the purpose and function of parenthood.
Right.
To take care of the kids and teach the kids so that when you're not here, they will be able to survive and prosper and grow without you. And so God puts the tree of the knowledge of the difference between good and evil in the garden and then says, don't eat from it, because if you tell a child not to do something, what's the first thing they're going to do?
They're going to test the waters. Yep.
Like all parents, God, like all parents, wants the child to grow up, to become mature, to accept responsibility for their own choices, which can only be done if a person knows the difference between good and evil. What is the definition of the insanity plea in a murder case? If I plead insanity, it means I did not know what I did was bad at the time I did it. I didn't know the difference between good and bad, good and evil, at the time I did it. If it can be shown that at the time the crime was committed, they really didn't understand that what they're doing was bad, they're not held guilty. They may go to a psychiatrist for a while. They may go to a jail to get, mentally healthy, but they're not held culpable for the act.
Temporary insanity.
If they plead insanity, and it's shown that they were, by definition of, didn't know the difference between good and bad at the time the crime was committed,
right?
They're not punished. They're kept in jail because they have to be forced to the mental, take the mental health,
right?
Whatever, okay. But they're not punished for the crime. Adam and Eve are never called sinners in the text. Genesis never calls what Adam and Eve did in the Garden of Eden a sin. The first time the word sin is used in the Bible is in reference to the jealousy of Cain for Abel. And even there it says, but you can master it. Sin is crouching at the door, but you can master it. And that becomes extremely important when I hear people say, I'm a broken person.
What's really ironic about that even, it goes on to say earlier that it says, if you do what is good, that is right, that is good. And if you do wrong, then sin is creeping at your door. Not like when you do wrong, that is sin. But if you do wrong, sin is crouching at your door. You must learn to overcome it. Whatever. So,
because what is the product of a sin? Another sin. What's the product of a good deed? Another good deed. What's the product of a commandment? Doing another commandment. Mm-hmm. Okay. You head down a road, you keep going down that road. You head down a different road, you keep going down that road. Okay. So now look. I'm not saying that there aren't some rabbinic commentaries that will in fact call what Adam and Eve did in the Garden of Eden a sin. Okay, I don't agree with that. Okay, Devar Acher, I guess you would say. I don't agree with that. To me, they can't be held liable because they didn't know the difference between good and evil. They wouldn't understand what death was. They wouldn't understand God's warning. Make no sense to them until they've eaten the fruit of the tree of difference, fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Okay. By the way, another aspect of this, in this approach to the story of the Garden of Eden, there is a split second or longer when Eve takes the fruit and tastes it and knows the difference between good and evil. And at some point, no matter how quick it occurred, she knows at that point that death is bad. She knows at that point the difference between good and evil. But she gives the fruit to her husband Adam anyway. Why? Because for a lot of men, it's their wives who make them grow up. Eve is a hero or heroine of this story because she, like many wives, made her husband grow up, made him understand the difference between good and evil, so he becomes culpable for his choices, the sign of being a grown-up. And from that point on, if he chooses bad over good, then he's going to get punished. Because now he knows the difference between good and evil. And again, if Adam and Eve only once take from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, bite one, and all of a sudden they know it, and all their descendants are going to know it, the same thing must be true for the tree of life, because here in chapter 3, 22 and following, okay, if he eats it, he lives forever. It doesn't say, well, as long as he eats it, he lives forever. It says, if he puts forth his hand, takes the fruit, and eats of it, he'll live forever. One time for Garden of Eden, one time for the tree of life, one time for the knowledge of the difference between good and evil, and you get that effect. Mm-hmm. If we just read, according to Romans chapter 5, 12 and following, that according to Christianity, Adam brought death into the world. You and I die. Everybody's going to die. Death is going to happen to all of us, and was in God's creation from the moment of creating us. To Christianity, dying is the proof of original sin. We die because they sinned. We are born with the guilt committed by Adam and Eve. And of course, it only takes Jesus to take away that sin, that guilt, that taint on our souls because of Adam and Eve. You know, how many thousands of generations before us? So the idea of original sin, that we are born guilty for the sin committed to Adam and Eve. Why? Because we die, and they brought death into the world. We die because they sinned. Doesn't hold water, because the Bible is explicitly clear. If they take the fruit of the tree of life, they become immortal because they're already mortal. Adam and Eve did not bring death into the world. Therefore, we don't die because they sinned, which brings me to Deuteronomy 24:16. No man is put to death because of the sins of his child. No child is put to death because of the sins of his father. Okay, ancestors' guilt doesn't get inherited. And we die for our own sin. So the idea that there is a taint on human character, yes, we are equally free to choose to do bad as we are equally free to choose good, but it's our choices that make us bad or good, not some inherited guilt, not some original sin, not some taint on our soul, on our character because of something done how many thousands of years ago. Now, and this is incredibly important, everything we've talked about up until now is a setup, okay? Because I'm telling you, this is just bothers the holy heck out of me. I have heard so many people over the last couple of years talk about they're broken. Christianity teaches it's a broken world. By the way, what did God say about the world that he created? He said that it's good. God does not give us a tainted world. God does not let us inherit a bad world, a tainted world, a broken world. The world is still a pretty good place. Yes, there are broken things, but the world itself, life itself, is a good thing. It's not inherently broken, and it's not inherently bad. And yes, I understand, okay, Tikkun Olam b'Malchut Shaddai, repairing the world through the rule of God, Tikkun Olam, okay, b'Malchut Shaddai. I understand that the translation of that is fixing or repairing the world, and you can't fix or repair something unless it's broken. But it's not saying the world as a whole, that the world, life in general, is a broken thing. It's saying that there are problems in the world, okay, that we must use our God-given talents to make better. It's not saying that the world is broken in the sense that Christianity appears to be using it. Still there?
Yeah.
William?
I'm here.
You
I'm
can
here.
hear me? Okay, just making sure.
I'm actually engaging with some chat members as well. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. All right. So, exactly. You're not going to punish or discipline your children on a first offense if they had no clue what it meant. Okay. So, yeah, but the whole world wasn't flooded. It explicitly says that when it explicitly says that when Noah and family are leaving the ark, God tells the animals to go to the other animals in the world. It's 9. Give me a second. Genesis 9, and I think it's 10. Yeah. And with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl of the cattle, of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark, to every beast of the earth.
Whoa. I never saw that before. That's good. Wow.
Take a look at Genesis chapter 9, verse 10.
Okay, I'm going to pull it up.
And the Hebrew, where are you? The Hebrew, where'd it go? 9, verse 10. V'kol nefesh hachaya asher itchem, ba'of b'bahema u'b'kol chayat ha'aretz, itchem, mikol yotzei hateva lechol chayat ha'aretz.
It even interestingly enough, Rabbi, it actually even says that in the English King James. Believe it or not, it says.
What the Hebrew
no, I
says.
mean that's good. No, I know, but the King James manipulates a lot of stuff. So, and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth that's with you, from all that go out of the ark, to every beast of the earth.
Right.
So
see, they're already there.
But see, it's kind of weird. So it wasn't so you're saying, well, hold on. We're opening up a whole new can of worms here. So now we're saying this was not a global flood.
No. Look. So tell me something.
I mean, honestly, this verse proves what you just said. It there's no way there could be other beasts of the earth if it was global flood, because they would have all died. God, why am I not seeing this till now?
Let me ask
Holy
you a question.
cow!
If I say to you,
that's
hey,
deep.
William, what's new in your world?
Yeah, that's deep.
Does that mean your world is in China?
That's deep. Pun intended. That's very deep.
Taiwan?
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Man.
Your world just means the part of the world that you inhabit, that you're in your sphere, so to speak. Okay.
Yep.
So when this is talking about the world,
dude, that's
wow. Land.
Holy cow!
It's not every square inch of land throughout the entire world, and I don't think it was ever meant to be that. But this verse, lechol chayat haaretz, okay, to all living things of the earth, means they're already there.
Hey, Rabbi, I need to put a quick insert question for you. Okay. The obvious answer for me would be possibly the wrong answer. This is I don't usually interrupt our topics, but this is actually something that made me kind of curious. What language did Adam and Eve speak? I guess it was Hebrew, but I don't know.
Well, give me a second.
Okay.
Genesis. This is a joke, so please don't take this too seriously.
Okay. Oh,
this is a very old joke.
That's funny.
Okay.
I love it. I'd love to hear it.
Okay, so wait a minute.
That would be Skunk Ape Farm Off Grid.
Okay, so Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the eternal God had made, and he said to the woman, and what did he say to the woman? Well, in my Bible, it's Hebrew.
What verse was that? That's a good
What?
point. What verse are you looking for right now?
Genesis chapter 3, verse 1.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Genesis 3:1. Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good point.
No. It's not a good point. It's a silly statement because the whole thing's written down in Hebrew.
No, but my point is, I mean, it's a good point. The holy language has always been Hebrew as far as all of our world knows.
Everything that we have
so.
Of the Bible begins with Hebrew.
Okay.
King James was what? 1611.
Right.
So everything we have in the Bible is Hebrew. It was recorded in Hebrew. Does it necessarily mean that that's what the language they were speaking? Technically, no. Okay, if you want to get technical. But why would they record it in one language if that's not the language they were speaking?
Some people will argue a whole thing about the Masoretic text and stuff. Like, well, the whole point of
that's a different
No, let me finish my thought.
Oh, okay. You're
okay. Okay. They say that the Hebrew we know today was not. They want to go back to Paleo Hebrew and things of this nature, and that they're trying to disprove what we know as Hebrew today. But the whole aspect of the term Masorite means handed down. That means that was there. They kind of knew it, but it wasn't actually a written language or whatever the case may be. That it was actually something that was passed down from generation to generation, so to speak, not necessarily put in like libraries or whatever. I don't know. The thought was coming off right, but I think I got confused along the way.
Right. So, yeah. Okay. Now, here's something that is incredibly important, a point that I need to make.
Okay.
It is the typical huckster oil salesman, snake oil salesman of Christianity. Okay? They tell you are sinful by nature. They tell you that original sin is inherited. And then they tell you that the only way to get rid of your original sin is the belief in Jesus as your personal Savior, Son of God, and Messiah. So they convince you have a disease you do not have, and then tell you that they're the only ones with the cure for that disease you don't have. And of course, that cure is the belief and faith in their Jesus. But take a listen to the concept of brokenness, because that's what they're using to refer to original sin that I've heard, especially recently. Okay? I'm walking along with a cup, and I am clumsy, and I drop the cup, and the cup is now broken. Can the cup fix itself?
No, of course not.
The cup cannot fix itself. It requires something outside of the cup to fix the cup. So if you convince the people that they are broken, I'm a broken man, it's a broken world, broken, the only way that they can get fixed is by something outside of them, which is Christianity. That once again has snake oil sales sold you a bill of goods that you are broken, that there's something wrong in the world. And yeah, there are people who need fixing. There are things in the world that need to be fixed. I'm not saying there aren't. There's plenty in the world to do to make the world a better place. Okay, no question.
Right.
But it's not the same thing. I'm sorry, wait.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please do.
Okay, just one last sentence.
Absolutely.
Okay. If I have to rely on something outside of me because a broken cup cannot fix itself, what does that say of myself to myself? It means that I am helpless. It means that I can't do anything for myself, or for that matter, my family, because they're broken too. The world is broken. It keeps people broken. It keeps people in a mentality that says somebody outside of me has to help me. And of course, The only thing that can help you is your faith in their Jesus.
Right.
And if a person is brought up believing that they are broken, and you compare that child growing up with someone who is, from the moment they're understanding things, that you are neither good nor bad. This is what we talk about every high holiday season. You're not inherently bad,
right.
but you're also not inherently good.
Sure.
You're a blank slate, and your choices will make you what you will be, putting the responsibility on their own shoulders. Who's going to have a better life? Those who have a better self-image, that they are not broken, but if they happen to break, they can fix themselves. Right. Or the kid who's feels he's broken, who's going to have the better life? Who's going to have more success in the world? Okay, go ahead. What were you going to say?
That's okay. Remember I said I was talking about the Paleo-Hebrew versus the Masoretic text, and I was kind of got confused. A question was brought up that actually made me rethink what I was actually pondering. So Man Bear Pig says, doesn't this predate, cuneiform predate Paleo-Hebrew anyway, and Phoenician is even older? The point is, Masoretic text wasn't necessarily written. That's why it was called handed down. It wasn't necessarily a written thing that was completely like globalized in that sense. So the whole idea of other languages being older, it's almost like saying the flood didn't happen. But there's other. In fact, there's older stories from other peoples talking about a flood. So it's like the Hebrew people hijacked the story. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that other people are aware of it. So,
William, the way I word it is this: something happened. There was a flood.
Yeah.
Never meant to be over the whole world, as we just talked about. The Mesopotamian community, the Canaanite community, they have their story regarding that flood. We have our story regarding that flood.
Right.
The version of the story told to us by God. This is God's revelation regarding that flood to the Jewish people. It's not the similarities that are significant between the Mesopotamian version, Gilgamesh, and all that stuff. It's where they differ that becomes significant. It shows the differences between the Jewish religion, okay, and the pagan religion. If you read the text of Gilgamesh and I can't think of his name. If you read the description, for example, of the ark itself, okay, in the Mesopotamian version, not only does their Noah figure, okay, have a thing on the water, okay, that is explicitly in the shape of a boat, a ship. He also has an oarsman, some other human being on that boat, that ship, who guides it where it's going to go. If you read the description of the ark with Noah, it's a shoebox. And on the ark, that's a shoebox that has no rudder. Who becomes the captain? God.
Mm-hmm. Right. Has to be that way.
These are theological differences that shows the difference between the Jewish response, God's revelation to the Jewish people regarding that flood, and the Mesopotamian version of that flood. The Jewish version is going to reflect Jewish theology, our belief system, our faith in God, and God's revelation to us. It's not the similarities that count, it's where do they differ that means something.
Yep.
And by the way, when you talk about this Phoenician bit, the Masoretic text, okay, is a traditional way to point it, to put the vowels there. In Hebrew, you change the vowels, you change the meaning.
Right.
Okay. Hey, William, you are a D-U-D.
Oh, yeah. I'm a dud. I'd rather prefer myself as a dude.
No.
What?
No, see, that's the difference.
I know.
The only difference is the vowel.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the word dude or is the word dud?
Right. And not only that, pronunciation as well. You at one of our shows, probably a year or so ago, you had brought up a certain word, and I think there might have been a minor spelling difference, but there was like 9 different pronunciations of the same word.
The tough guy.
Yes.
Cough.
Oh yeah, not the word, but the. Thank
dough.
you. Not the word,
Tough.
but the GH thing.
OUGH.
OUGH. Yeah. Do that real fast. Go over that real fast. This is a perfect timing for it.
Okay. OUGH is found 5 times in the following sentence. The tough guy coughed as he plowed through the dough. Okay? The tough TOUGH guy cough COUGH. Tough guy coughed as he plowed PLOUGH through THROUGH the dough DOUGH.
Well, I'm typing this up as you're saying. As he plowed.
All right. As he plowed through the dough. By the way, that's actually the title to a lesser-known book by Dr. Seuss.
Oh, wow.
Where he's making fun of English language on how incredibly difficult it is to learn.
That's crazy right there.
When I start my Learn How to Read Hebrew in 3 hours class, okay, the Hebrew Jumpstart, Learn How to Read Hebrew in 3 hours, the first thing I do is I put TOUGH on the board. How is this pronounced? They say tough. Then I write COUGH on the board. How is this pronounced? They say cough. And I say, no, it's cuff. If this is tough, this has to be cuff. And I go through all 5 words, and I say, look how difficult it is to English.
That's crazy.
Hebrew is a much easier language because it's consistent and it follows grammatical rules. And the grammatical rules determine which vowel must be used.
That's great.
And all the Masorites did was to simply take the existing grammatical rules, the existing tradition for how to pronounce those words, which make up the Bible, and put in the vowels. That's really all they did.
Nice.
I just remembered something I forgot to say earlier.
Okay.
I didn't say it, so forget it. Too bad. Okay. So, at any rate, by the way, have you noticed something very interesting? When these people want to tell us what the Bible says because they know Phoenician, okay?
Okay.
When they start telling us what our Bible says, and they think of themselves as being superior because we use modern Hebrew, but they do Proto-Hebrew or whatever okay? Do they do that to people who speak English? Do they come up to somebody and try to speak Shakespearean English to them? Do they take a look at someone from Ireland and try to speak Gaelic in the way that Gaelic would have been pronounced 2,000 years ago? No.
Right.
The only group they do that to is the Jews. Why?
Right.
Because they're trying to prove their superiority to the Jews with the same attitude they learned from Christianity, that Christianity is superior, so they're superior to the Jews because, well, the Jews speak this modern stuff, but I speak Proto-Hebrew, or whatever they call it. They don't do it to anybody else. They don't do it. Do they come up to someone who was African American and try to speak the real Swahili or whatever? No, they only do it to Jews, reflecting their belief that they're superior. These dumb Jews, we know better than they do about their own text that they've had for 3,700 years, whatever, give or take. And by the way, if you just take a look at the history of language, for God's sakes, Hebrew was never a pictographic or hieroglyphic language. There are 22, or if you want to, whatever, 22 letters plus the Sophite.
28.
So 32 letters.
Wait, there's 10 Sophites? I thought it was 8. Oh, yeah.
No. There's not. No.
I thought it was 6.
It's 22. and you get the Kaf and Chaf. Okay, there's 32 total, I believe, if you count the Kaf and Chaf as a different, with the dot, the dagesh, or without the dagesh, the dot in the middle. Okay, or sin and shin, if you count them as different. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, the point I'm making is, as was taught to me, I'm pretty sure by Mina. Is she on here tonight?
Who?
Mina. Yasmin is on.
Oh,
I'm
Yasmin.
pretty sure it was Yasmin Coates who said this, and I thought, oh my God, that's powerful. Okay, and that is, if you only have 32 words, because each letter becomes a word, and you only have 32 words in your entire vocabulary, and let's say that each letter has 4 different meanings, so now you have 120 whatever words. You realize how incredibly small a vocabulary you can make, how incredibly small number of meaningful sentences you can make if all you're dealing with. You have any idea how many characters there are in Egyptian hieroglyphics? Thousands. Because you'd need thousands to just get along in the world.
Yep. Okay. Hey, Rabbi, I got
Yeah.
So it was really cool in Houston because we got to meet a handful of the viewers. Yasmin and her husband Devin was there, and a lot of others. So I think they're both. I know Yasmin's there and Devin's watching too. So I've got a huge, massive shout out to Devin, Yasmin's husband. So my brother came down to visit from Oklahoma. First time he's ever been here. On the way back home, he makes it from Austin. Well, I say Austin. We're not in Austin. We're close to Austin. All the way to McKinney, Texas, which is like an hour and a half or so from home. And his truck broke down. It threw a rod. The truck's old.
Oh,
There's
wow.
non-recoverable. He was stranded in Dallas. I put a post up on. I have 2 Facebook accounts. A lot of you know. One of them is secular. I have that for a reason, for business reasons, and also for other possible reasons. But also, then I have Tanakh Talk. I put a post up in a family group, and this for me this is huge because it's like we have like over 150 people in our family private group. I put a post up, hey, Close is stranded, somebody please come get him, let me know, whatever. And I literally put that post up and waited for like a half an hour to an hour and nothing, no likes, no comments, no like, oh my gosh, nothing like that. And I'm thinking he was too far for me to get him because that would have been a 3.5 hour drive just for me to get. So 7 hours round trip. It didn't make any sense. So I was going to buy him a hotel for the night to give us another 24 hours to work this thing out, right? And so I finally decided. My wife actually said, why don't we put reach out on the Tanakh Talk Facebook page, and it was so cool. I literally just posted it up, and like within minutes, like 3 minutes maybe had passed. And I get a phone call from Devin. And he said, dude, I'm right here. I'm right so close to the drain. So I'll come pick him up right now. I mean, literally, I took the post down. He was on it like white on rice. It was amazing. And took it. My brother was like, did you know this guy? I'm like, my brother's in the secular world completely. He is not in the spiritual world at all. And, of course, Devin probably figured that out after he picked him up. Sorry, I should have told you beforehand. But he's a great kid, man. I love him to death. But the beauty of it was I had to call it out because, first of all, it was nice meeting both of you guys in Houston. And it was also such a wonderful thing that your husband was able to just drop what he was doing and just pack up and go just like that. It was amazing. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I hope I didn't derail you too bad. We got 10 minutes left.
No, not at all. Very, very apropos and fitting. Okay, so whoever Yehonatan is, he says, what you're saying is against all of Chazal and Midrashim. They weren't like children or simpletons. Okay, Devar Acher, move on.
Okay.
Let's see. I'd love to know what this guy kept saying that got him deleted. So, all right.
Who got deleted? I would like to know because I was talking.
Somebody named Apostle Paul.
Oh, I was actually asking him questions. Can we unblock him? So whoever was able to take care of that, would you actually let him back in? I want to try. Here's what I want to do. So with the viewers out there, as long as they will answer, like for example, if they start proselytizing, and if an admin or myself engages with them, if they refuse to answer your questions, then go ahead and block them out because they have no desire. But as long as they will interact with you and actually answer questions and things like this, just timed out. Okay, cool. Andrea, that's perfect. That's only 5 minutes, so he'll be back in no time. Thank you, Andrea. That was a good call, by the way. Yeah, see, he's very pushy, but he does tend to answer some questions, which is good. And just by getting him to answer questions is making him think, so that's good. Very good. Awesome. Andrea's been probably my longest term YouTube admin or moderator, whatever you call it. She's amazing. Andrea, thank you very much for what you've done here for this channel, for sure, and for Tanakh Talk. Okay, let's see. Who else is here?
Yeah, God says, cursed is the ground, I don't know about standing on, but the idea is that the punishment of Adam is that now he has to work harder for his food, for his living. He already had to work. Okay, he's already there to tend the garden. We've talked about that. But cursed is the ground because now Adam has to work hard for his money, right, for his living.
So the ground was cursed. It wasn't Adam that was cursed. It was the ground was cursed.
Right.
So
yeah, Eve has pain in childbirth. By the way, do you know people who really seek out punishment? If something is a punishment, they really, I want it badly, give me the punishment.
No, never. Of course not.
Well, I know women who would quite literally cut their arm off to know the pain of childbirth because they want a baby.
Oh, yeah.
And I know men who would literally cut their arm off to get a job so they can earn right, a living for their family. So if it's a curse, okay, if it's a punishment, must not be much of one because I know plenty of people who want it.
Right.
And everything I'm basing everything on.
Yeah, that's okay, really a great points for sure.
What I'm saying this on, okay, still holds with Chazal no matter what's his name said. Okay, maybe not the way I say it, but what I'm saying clearly is Judaism has always rejected this idea of original sin, which by the way only goes back to about the year 300. Okay, so. If you read the Bible, that's what you'll see.
That's funny.
I'm just taking it straight out.
No, you're good. I was laughing at Nelson Alvarez.
Yes, I just read that. Adam had no mother-in-law. Mother-in-law.
Oh gosh, I love it. It's nice to see some good humor from time to time. That's good. Awesome. Yeah. Oh, good Lord! That Rabbi Schneider. What is he? He calls the word that he. Look, while I was Messianic, King of Detroit, this is serious. Rob Schneider, whenever I was watching him as a Messianic, I couldn't get past the fact that he uses the word blessed blessed like every 15th word. And I was like, can you please stop doing that? That's not even relevant to the point. But yeah, the whole Rob Schneider, he's trying to make himself look super Jewish so that everybody will follow him. Yeah, he's definitely just another Messianic for sure.
See, they don't try to make themselves anything else because they know where the power, they know where the water, they know which well has the water in it. So They try to make themselves, look part of that Jewish well. The well that always is empty keeps coming to the well that's always full.
Right. Oh, man, y'all's chat is really entertaining. I mean, I really mean that. I'm not being sarcastic. It's actually quite cool. So that's awesome. So what time we got? It's like 5 minutes. We still got time. Let's hang out for a while. Hey, Federici, it's good to see you, buddy.
Not quite sure what.
Khaled, good to see you. Just Noah, welcome again. Why do you envy Adam, please? What does that mean? Just Noah, please tell me what you mean by that. Why do you envy Adam? Explain that question if you don't mind.
Who is this?
Just Noah. I believe he's a Christian. He's asking good questions. He's pushing things, but he also does tend to be kind of curious.
I don't see anything.
It's the very last about 5 comments up from current.
David sought it out.
No, after that. Oh, you're not getting it. Oh, so you're actually getting it not live also. It'll pop up here in just a second.
Why do we envy Adam? I don't know what these...
Oh, Larry Banks says because he has no mother-in-law.
Oh, I see. That's the end of his
Wow, that's funny.
I got it. Okay.
That's funny. Good one.
Yeah.
Khalid, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I really appreciate that. Okay, so this is a great question. Man, Bear, Pig. What's worse, Messianics or Calvinists? Calvinists were violent towards, but Messianics are tricky. So if you were to, that's a tough one to ask. It's almost asking the difference between apples and oranges. Not that those are bad. I'm just saying that they're two completely different
in
beasts.
Terms of what we're discussing tonight,
yeah,
William, Calvinism is just bizarre.
Okay.
Okay, you don't have the power to change yourself. You don't have the power to improve yourself. God brings you into the world knowing you're a sinner because you inherit sin from Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
Only allows some of the people he brings into existence to understand Jesus died for their sin. Everybody else continues to live but gets condemned. The Presbyterian Calvinist theory or whatever is a God of cruelty who brings people into the world knowing that they're going to be sinners and held culpable for Adam and Eve's sin. But God isn't going to give them an open eye to be able to understand Jesus died for them. And so he brings them into existence, and through no fault of their own, they don't believe, and then therefore they get condemned to an eternity of hell.
Gotcha. My thought on that thing is, I personally feel like the Messianics are more dangerous because they're not. Let me explain why. So they're not violent towards Jews. They simply teach against them, and they teach them in almost such a convincing manner to the uneducated Jew that they will simply create a world of where the Jewish people that are not prepared for this, that they could lose their autonomy from this thing because they're so far. They're trying to pluck the uneducated out, and so their kids and their grandkids, before you know it, they've totally lost their Jewish roots altogether. They keep just enough to keep them Jewish, but then they turn into idolatry with Christianity. So, it's to me the Messianics are more dangerous. They're definitely more snide and more sarcastic. I've actually dealt with when I say numerous, I mean hundreds of them, like individually, and they're so, man, they're so, golly. I don't know how to explain it. They're almost, they're very, honestly, most Messianics that I met are so anti-Semitic, even though they want to adopt all the, wearing the tzitzit and the fringes, the whole tallis, the yarmulkes, and they want to do all these prayers. But when you actually bring them into the world of actual Judaism, they get really offensive and really nasty towards them and say, well, we are the right ones. They've been forsaken. So
I wonder how long it's going to be before there's 50 or 60 different denominations of Messianic quote-unquote Judaism. Where'd it go?
Man, Bear, Pig, I actually saw that.
Christo asked, what law was given in the garden? Be fruitful and multiply. That's certainly one that was given in the garden.
So was do not eat from the tree, was that not a command? Was that not a law?
It may have been a law, but the point is how do you hold Adam and Eve guilty for disobeying it if they don't understand what bad is?
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's true, because at the time they ate it, they didn't know. It wasn't until after the fact that they realized that's the answer right there. Right.
By the way, my answer, I think I've decided my answer. My answer is Messianics are worse for Jews. Calvinists are worse for the rest of the world.
Okay, so Rabbi, as this is for Just Noah, for me it's very interesting also. I think what we should do at some point, we should try to do a show, Rabbi, on just a off the chain show specifically dealing with the flood. Just all the cool facts, and it's funny to this day. I ask, listen, this is funny. I still ask Christians to this day, how many of each animal was actually brought on the flood? And everybody always says there's just a pair. And I'm like, really? Yeah. I said, have you really read that before? And I'm like, well. Yeah,
and how long did the flood last? They'll say 40 days and 40 nights. No, that's how long the rain lasted.
Janice, thank you, dear. I will look at that now. Looking for Rosa G's message above. Hold on 1 second.
By the way, I'm not sure if we should discuss the Genesis 9 flood. You know why? I think the idea is all wet.
It's also very deep. I don't know if people can actually.
Oh, good for you.
Okay, so real quickly, Rosa G, not sure what your needs are. It's in Christianity, it's a known thing to the people who say pray, have an unspoken prayer, but that idea doesn't really flow well because in Judaism, it's like people who need help, they don't ask you for prayer. They deal with God alone on that thing, and they'll tell you the outcome when it's finished. That's the general rule of thumb. But granted, we could say, hey, Hashem, please bless Rosa. That's the best we can do. We have no idea why. But that's kind of like shooting an arrow up in the air and not really sure where it's going to land. I'm just saying. So if you don't mind, please, if you want, you could send an email to Rabbi directly, and you could talk with him, on a more intimate level that's not public. You certainly can do that. In fact, I'm going to put his little screen up now. It's got his email address on it, RabbiStuart@hotmail.com. You could certainly address him privately and give as much detail as you want, so that could actually be handled more appropriately. Okay, and Janice, thank you for pointing her out, by the way. Very, very don't like ignoring things like that for sure. So yeah, write that down, RabbiStuart@hotmail.com. Be an easy thing to remember. Very good. And then let's see. All right, I'm going to switch back to where I can see my other screen, taking this off. Now you can, if I pulled it down too soon, you can just go back and rewatch the video and rewind it. So let's go back here again.
By the way, there's somebody called Greg Rabbi. No, it's just Greg. Oh, I get it. Greg said, Rabbi said, okay, so.
Right.
Beginning to wonder about the Trinity. Just today I watched, I don't even know how old or young or new it is, but I watched Rabbi Tovia Singer talking about the Trinity on one of his videos. It's on YouTube. Just what I did is I Googled Tovia Singer Trinity, and a couple of them came up. So you'll see. Now
here's the thing too. Listen, this is for everybody. Wherever you go, you can whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for HEB's lowest prices, that's a grocery store in Texas, then go into the YouTube search and put in HEB and then lowest prices, and you'll find something on that video topic. If you put in, sin and atonement and a space and put Tanakh Talk, it'll probably take you to my channel, and then it'll pull up everything on Tanakh Talk for whatever you want to find. Just type your main keywords in the YouTube search bar, and you'll get something for it for sure. Okay. Okay, let's see here. I'm looking at your comment, Andrea. 1 second. Rabbi, look at the very latest comment by Andrea.
Wait.
It probably will show up here in about another 10 seconds. 2 fallen angels in Babylon, Harut Marut. Allah Almighty mentioned their story in chapter 2. It's about magic and witchcraft.
Wait.
Plus, I've got a question from Khaled I missed.
There's a story in the Talmud about the 2 fallen angels in Babylon, Harut Marut. Allah Almighty, mentioned their story in chapter 2. It's about magic and witchcraft. No idea what you're referring to.
Okay, so we can look into it, though. Thank you, Andre, for pulling that.
2 fallen angels in Babylon.
Interesting. Okay.
Were they named Harut and the other one was named Marut? I don't know.
Welcome, Cincy. Good to see you. Okay, David.
And Andrea, when you say Allah Almighty mentioned their story, you're talking about in the Quran? I'm not following your question. I don't know. I think that it sounds to me like that's a tradition from the Quran. And if they're mentioned in the Talmud, you'll have to give me a citation. I can look it up. I don't know.
Cool. Okay, very good. Okay, so Apostle Paul's back. Welcome. Aren't you good? Original sin means first sin. What's supposed to be this senseless about that? Because Apostle, I know you were timed out, but you were still able to listen. So your question seems redundant to me because he actually explained that a little while ago. So anyway, yeah. So
Apostle Paul Original sin means first sin. What's supposed to be senseless about that? The idea is not that they had a first sin. Adam and Eve, you can say that they sinned. I don't agree. Okay, I think the biblical narrative doesn't show that they sinned. Okay, but if you want to call what they did sin, that's fine. Don't say that everybody who lives after Adam and Eve, which is every human being on earth, suffers guilt from their sin. It's contrary to what the Bible tells us. I'm not saying you want to say it was the first sin, fine, okay? But original sin is more than that. Original sin as a concept, as a vocabulary word, has a specific meaning of the guilt for their sin is inherited by every human being. We die because they sinned. Therefore, they brought death into the world. We die because they sinned. When the Bible is explicitly clear, every man is put to death for his own sin, and no man is put to death for the sins of his child. No child is put to death for the sins of their parents. They don't die because the ancestors sinned. That's the issue I'm talking about. You want to call it sin? Okay. You want to say Adam and Eve registered the first sin? I don't agree, but fine, whatever. To me, you can't. The Bible doesn't call what they did sin. And the first time the Bible uses the word sin, it's in reference to Cain, as we already discussed.
Okay, here's an interesting thing. So AH says Jericho, archaeological evidence shows Jericho wasn't inhabited during Joshua's time. Does that hurt the biblical narrative? I would say if you had 50 of them who agreed, I would say, yeah, maybe they missed it. But if you're saying archaeological evidence shows, what can you say? You have Christians trying to disprove the Old Testament's authoritative issue over Jesus' words. So if you're using it from that logic, it's like it doesn't matter what they've actually. Well, if you say evidence, I mean, evidence can't come just from one person. It's got to be something there's got to be some sort of an agreement on research and things of that nature too. So I'm questionable about that altogether. I mean, I know that there's probably more proof that there are UFOs than there are arguments against Jericho. I'm just saying. Cool. Well, guys, it is 10 after 8. It's been fun. I almost don't want to end this, but it was good. Well, it's good to see everybody. David M., good to see you. Christo Cheney, Golan Manor 7, Federici. Hey, I sent you another message there. Larry Beck, good to see you, brother. Been a long time moderator for YouTube as well. AH, you're very welcome, sir. And y'all tune in. We try to be here every week if we can. I didn't see you, Highways and Byways. It's good to see all of y'all here. Out, Jeremy. Man, I missed a lot of y'all. I'm trying to follow everything and comment and pay attention to who's here. But if I forgot to give you a shout out, I apologize. But glad you're all here, and we'll look forward, Hashem willing, that you guys will be here with us next week as well. And that's pretty much it. You guys have a great night, Rabbi. You have a wonderful night, and it's always a pleasure. And I look forward to seeing all of you guys.
By the way, what I could find quickly about Harut and Marut is that it is from the Quran, Surah 2, 102. And it's not in the Talmud. There's a story in Jewish legends that sounds the same, but I don't think that's Talmudic. So, at any rate, if that helps.
Right. Peace out, everybody. Love you, Rabbi. We'll see you all on the other side.
Love you too.
Shavua Tov, everyone. Take care.
חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה